Senator Hassan stunned the hearing room after demanding answers about reports that a DOJ staffer may have accessed sensitive Social Security data tied to millions of Americans. As officials pushed back, the exchange exposed growing fears over identity theft, government oversight, and public trust.
Senator Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member Wyden, for having this hearing, and Mr. Bisignano, it's good to see you. I want to start by talking about something I'm working on as ranking member of the Joint Economic Committee. Just recently, I sent a bipartisan alert to help the public better avoid common tax scams. Scammers are increasingly using AI to realistically impersonate the IRS online and over the phone in order to steal taxpayers' refunds, payments, and identities. When Americans are scammed, they can, of course, report the scam to the IRS. However, there are 7 other federal agencies who also accept scam reports, each in a different way, on a different website. As a result, Americans who are attacked by scammers often don't know where to turn, and they often don't report at all. How does the IRS work with other federal agencies to combat scams, and will you commit to working across federal agencies to simplify the reporting process for scam victims?
First, yes. And, we took a very active role in Slam the Scam Day. Yeah. And I think it's one of the most important things. I think IRS, honestly, is IRS and Social Security, we believe are the 2 most prevalent. Yeah. I'm happy to work across the whole place because this is, to me, one of the things we have to protect the American public from.
I'm working on legislation to try to centralize that reporting.
I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I want the American public to know, too, that if you're scammed, you should report. It is nothing to be ashamed of. These are very smart scammers who are using very sophisticated techniques. Let me move on to another issue. According to recent reporting, the Social Security Inspector General is investigating an unprecedented violation of Americans' private information involving a former DOJ staffer who purportedly took the Social Security numbers of potentially every American. If this data gets into the wrong hands or got in the wrong hands, it could unleash a massive wave of scams across the country. I want to follow up on what you told my colleagues about this issue earlier today. First of all, have you provided the chairman and ranking member of this committee a review about this incident?
Yes.
That's not true.
Yeah, I think there is confusion. Yeah.
Excuse my colleague.
No, yeah, go ahead.
What the witness has answered is not true. He's now said to 2 United States senators on this committee something that's untruthful. We have not got that information. We'd like it. I don't want my colleagues' time to be taken because of my comments.
Our staff's met with your staff.
That would be helpful because I think your answer this morning was confusing, and I appreciate the clarification from the ranking member. The Social Security Inspector General sent this committee a letter 1 month ago saying that she is investigating this incident. Is it true that the Inspector General is investigating?
Yes.
Did a DOJ employee take millions of Social Security numbers from the Social Security Administration?
We have no belief that occurred, and I think, we're going to feel very good when the Inspector General is done with their report.
Well, the Inspector General has been clear in her letter, and without objection, I'd like to introduce the letter from the Inspector General dated March 6, 2026. She says she is investigating an anonymous report, but here's my question for you, and she has been clear that she's not going to share information with this committee in detail because she doesn't want to compromise an ongoing investigation. So I am assuming she is also putting up some level of wall between the leadership of Social Security and IRS and not discussing the details. So you don't know what the outcome of that investigation is going to be. Is that correct?
100%.
So let's operate on the fact that if you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
No, I was answering that 100%. She is not communicating during the investigation.
Right. So you don't have any reason to believe there is going to be a finding that the information was stolen or it wasn't stolen?
I don't believe that we're going to find that the data was stolen. It's an anonymous letter that people have researched inside and out, and now the Inspector General is researching it.
Well, let me ask you this question in your capacity here as the leader of the IRS. Let's say that the Inspector General, contrary to your current belief, does find that there was the theft of Social Security numbers. At the IRS, how are you preparing for the possibility that DOJ's actions could put millions of Americans at risk of identity theft? What are you all doing to prepare in case this anonymous report is true?
Well, because we brought in outside experts to also take a review of the environment in both organizations.
I'm sorry? I just didn't hear that.
I said we brought in outside experts to look to ensure that we weren't the only people ensuring that the environment was secure. And
so the IRS is doing nothing additional to prepare for the possibility that pretty much every American Social Security number has gotten into the wrong hands, and doing nothing to prepare for the fact that those Social Security numbers and that identity theft could be used to try to steal people's tax refunds.
There's been no identity theft identified, and it's an anonymous letter.
It's an anonymous letter that the Inspector General is taking quite seriously, and she should, and you should too. I have other questions. I'm over time. I'll submit them for the record, but I just want to go on the record really to follow up a little bit on one of the lines of questionings that Senator Warren was asking. My constituent service team in New Hampshire gets inquiry after inquiry from frustrated constituents who not only have to wait a long time to get through to the IRS, but when they get through, they are passed from one person to the next. Nobody can really help them, and it is not until the taxpayer advocate gets involved that we get true answers for our constituents. And the taxpayer advocate team has been degraded, and we have fewer and fewer of them. So I would really hope, I'll ask you a question for the record on this, that you all will consider strengthening the taxpayer advocate office to make sure that constituents can get real-time answers to their questions and get their refunds when they are due. Thank you.
The hearing took a dramatic turn when Senator Hassan shifted the conversation from AI-driven tax scams to allegations involving the potential exposure of Social Security numbers tied to millions of Americans. At first, the discussion centered on fraud prevention and how increasingly sophisticated scammers are using artificial intelligence to impersonate federal agencies like the IRS. But the atmosphere in the room changed immediately once Hassan brought up reports that a former DOJ staffer may have improperly accessed sensitive Social Security data. That single allegation instantly raised the stakes of the hearing and transformed it into a broader debate over government accountability and public trust. What made the exchange especially tense was the repeated back and forth over whether the administration had fully briefed Congress about the matter. Hassan questioned the official directly about whether committee leadership had received information about the investigation, only for Senator Wyden to interrupt and challenge the witness's answer in real time. That moment added visible friction to the hearing because it suggested lawmakers themselves were receiving conflicting information. In congressional hearings, credibility is everything, and when senators publicly accuse officials of giving misleading answers, it often becomes the defining moment viewers remember most. The heart of Hassan's concern was not just whether the alleged breach happened, but what the consequences could be if it did. She warned that if Social Security numbers fell into the wrong hands, Americans could face a massive wave of identity theft and financial fraud. Her questions reflected a broader fear many Americans already have, that sensitive personal information is increasingly vulnerable in an age of cyber attacks, AI-generated scams, and digital surveillance. Even though the official repeatedly emphasized that there was no belief data had been stolen, Hassan continued pressing the issue, arguing that the Inspector General's ongoing investigation itself should be treated as a serious warning sign. Another revealing part of the exchange came when Hassan asked what preparations the IRS was making in case the allegations turned out to be true. The official pointed to outside experts reviewing the system's security environment, but Hassan appeared frustrated by what she viewed as a lack of urgency. Her argument was simple: if there is even a possibility that millions of Americans could be affected, agencies should already be preparing for worst-case scenarios. That line of questioning resonated because it touched on a common public frustration. The belief that government agencies often react only after problems spiral out of control rather than acting aggressively beforehand. By the end of the hearing, Hassan broadened the conversation beyond the investigation itself and focused on everyday Americans struggling to get help from the IRS. She described constituents waiting on hold for long periods, being transferred repeatedly, and depending on taxpayer advocates just to receive basic answers. That final point connected the data security debate to a larger issue of confidence in federal institutions. Whether the allegations are ultimately proven true or false, the hearing underscored how deeply concerned many lawmakers are about transparency, cybersecurity, and the government's ability to protect sensitive personal information in an increasingly digital world.